The Mr. Beacon podcast is sponsored by Wiliot, scaling IoT with battery-free Bluetooth.
Welcome to the Mr. Beacon podcast. We're here at Bluetooth World on the main keynote stage. Everyone started to go home, so that let us take this very nice space to talk to Jean-Baptiste, who's the CTO of Polestar. So JB, thanks very much for spending some time with us.
Thanks, Steve.
We haven't had very many French beacon companies on the show. I feel like you guys have been a really important player that we've missed out. So I'm really pleased that we got a chance to talk. Can you describe a little bit about what you guys do?
Yeah, so one of the reasons why you maybe did not identify us is that we are not defining ourselves like a beacon company. Beacon is the easy part of it. Our history is rather on the signal processing. So our strength is the platform, the location platform. We are able to deliver very accurate positioning on smartphones, and more recently to perform asset tracking. We also have additional architecture where we can get streams of measurements and we convert them into locations. Then we embed in our platform analytics. We embed a tracking application when it comes about tracking assets typically. So that's our core focus. Now we did beacons. The reason why is that the beacon that we found at the very beginning, so at first we were one of the first players in the beacon area as soon as Apple introduced BLE in the iPhone. Before that we were basing our technology on Wi-Fi. The advantage with Wi-Fi is that this is an infrastructure of opportunity, so that was great to reuse what was already existing on buildings. But as the APIs became more and more closed, we moved to Bluetooth that time.
So just to be clear, you started off with Wi-Fi, and when did the company start?
So the company started quite a long time ago, but it was first primarily a service company, and then in turn to a product company in 2007 and 2006. So that time there was no iPhone, there was the high-tier smartphone segment, the high-tier phone segment was only 9%. Wi-Fi was just an access point in the lobby of hotels or in the entry of malls. So we envisioned that high-tier phones would become mainstream, that Wi-Fi would be spread everywhere because of the need for bandwidth due to always more demanding use cases. So we won those bets, but what we did not expect is that it would be more and more difficult to use Wi-Fi on a smartphone, and then hopefully Bluetooth Low Energy came. That was a huge opportunity to us.
So for the location use case, you start off using Wi-Fi, you move to Bluetooth, it's more accurate. Is the location engine running on the phone in that case, or is it running up in the cloud?
Yeah, so when we are locating smartphones, the location engine runs on the phone, so inside SDK. So that's a software component that application developers are integrated inside their applications. So that component listens to Bluetooth signals. It also leverages the motion sensors on the phone, accelerometer, gyroscope, magnetometer, and we are also using the map as a sensor. So that's where we are unique on the market. That's from the beginning our core identity to use the map data as a sensor. So typically with a motion sensor you can estimate a travel distance and a direction. If you cross that with the map in a probabilistic algorithm, this helps you identify the pattern that was followed by the user, and even with no RF data, identify where the user is. So that's a really, really powerful fusion that we have.
So you're fusing the signals you get from a variety of sensors along with RSSI. You're looking at signal strength from the beacons, and you're doing the calculations on the phone. What sort of customers do you have for the location tracking? Who do you typically serve?
Okay, so we are serving 4 key verticals. The first one is transport. In the transport market, we have airports like the Schiphol, the Amsterdam airport. We also gained recently a contract with the French railways SNCF to cover the biggest railway station there. One of the use cases is to be able to, of course, implement wayfinding, but there are also advanced features like automatically computing your distance to the platform, and if the application detects that you are late, instead of running with your luggage, arriving on the platform, seeing the train departing, then shouting, then trying to find a place where to change your ticket, everything is done automatically in the app, saying, okay, it looks like you're late, but within 15 minutes you have another train, we'd like to book a ticket to change your ticket for it. So the passenger journey is really made easy thanks to indoor location. And we apply the same kind of a smart application trying to connect the user to the building thanks to indoor location. So for us, indoor location is the new touch screen, The touch screen is a means to have easy access to your applications, easy access to actions. Indoor location in the vertical that we serve is meant to trigger the appropriate event on the right place, on the right time.
I love that. So there's real utility there. Even if I know my way around the station, I may well be late on occasion. So this ability to avoid me having to wait in line to rebook my ticket, that's saving SNCF some time and money, and it's making the experience better for the passenger. So that totally makes sense. So that's one of the 4 verticals?
On the 4, exactly. So the second one is retail and malls. So malls for application where at first we deliver a nice experience, an enhanced experience to the consumer. So the idea here is also to identify where I'm in the mall. Big malls have a total length, the aisles on big malls have a total length of something like 3 miles, so you can get lost during a few minutes. That's funny to get lost, but there is a moment when you need to really find your shop. Then deliver advanced services like automatically storing the location of your car in the parking garage, and of course implementing advanced marketing, trying to really propose to the consumer the advertisements and the promotions he should be interested in.
And can you share any customers or hints at the kinds of customers you have
in that
space?
Yes, of course, that's public. So a big customer that we have is Unibail-Rodamco in Europe. So we have 50 malls for Unibail-Rodamco. We have Compagnie de Falsbourg, we have Klépierre, we have a few malls with Westfield as well. So that's typical customer.
That's a great customer list. Okay, so that's the second vertical, and then the third one?
The third one is smart office. So smart office here, the idea is that more and more you see very big offices created with flex office allocation of the desks. So when you arrive in the morning, your first question is, where do I sit today? Then second question is, where my project group? So I may have the will to work alone today, but on the opposite, I may have to work with my project team. So you have to share your location with the project team without calling somebody that is traveling. And one of the key items to solve as well is the reservation of the rooms. There is a big pain that is that rooms are overbooked. And if you plan too many rooms, that costs as a real estate.
Right.
So that means to trigger a pop-up when you go to a free room, check with that pop-up the reservation plan of the room, check that the room is free for sufficient time, book it. And so as you know that you will find a room that you will be able to book it very easily, you see on the map which one are free, then you do not overbook. And so that makes all the cycle enter in a positive non-over reservation.
Yeah, the user experience for the office user has also got to be better. You're streamlining things, and for the real estate folks, they can show a positive ROI in terms of better utilization. Any names you can share on that front?
Oh yes, we have more than 30 references in that domain. So we have big names like big banking companies, so French companies like Société Générale, like BNP Paribas, like Crédit Agricole, or insurance companies. We have also companies like Thales, in the defense and security systems, etc.
Fantastic. And so the fourth area?
And the last one is healthcare. Healthcare, and so healthcare, we are providing both technologies, so both the mobile-centric and also the asset tracking that has the converse architecture where the tag emits.
Okay.
There are gateways on the wall listening to the signals emitted by the tags, and then that's at that time the cloud platform that computes the location and delivers it inside a built-in application.
So what are the receivers, the gateways, the locators that you're using in the case of asset tracking? So you're not using the phone, presumably you're using fixed...
Fixed gateway, absolutely. So we are using third-party gateways.
Okay.
We are putting our firmware on them, and in order to have full control on the chain, in order to have full control on security, cyber security, in order to be able to have a well-optimized configuration of the gateway. And so then we have the built-in application, but we are also delivering the locations as a stream. And on top of locations, we are implementing geofencing. Mm-hmm. So as a use case for that, people on asset tracking, we are currently in operations in an ambulatory service where every new patient receives a tag when arriving to the service.
Do they get that tag?
That kind of tags, yes,
yeah.
Exactly. So the tag is allocated with the name of the patient inside the application system that is on top of our system. Then we are able to locate the patient very accurately. We are able to implement geofencing, identifying when the patient enters the change room, when he exits the change room, and then trigger notifications.
All right. So this is comfortable, wearable for people in hospitals. And what about that? That looks like your conventional RFID pass there.
So that's here the beacon that we use for mobile-centric location. When we are implementing location on smartphones, we design our beacon to be sure that we have a strong beacon, that we have long-lasting battery life, so typically 8 years in a factory configuration. And more than this, to have a beacon that is completely integrated in our suite, because we have, one of our identities is to have extremely simple and streamlined setup process that makes our solution very cost efficient. And that one is another example of tag that so this one we source it on the market, that we can stick typically on files. And that's something that we use in the smart manufacturing that is, I would say, part of the smart building vertical that we're serving. So we were rather in a smart office for what I would call the white collars. And now we're moving to the smart manufacturing, being able to track the work in progress by inserting typically those kind of files in the production file that comes up with a manufacturing batch in the pharmaceutical industry, in the mechanical industry, for the aerospace industry, etc.
So what are the trends that you would identify? You've been in this business for a long time, and you've seen the waves of interest come and go. Where was the focus when you started with Bluetooth beacons, and where do you see it going from now into the future?
So our first idea and goal was to deliver compelling services to the end user. So that was the first stage. Now, of course, when you are selling a system, at the end, the customer is expecting to have a ROI. So that's a long process to implement that ROI, because you need to be very verticalized and very well integrated in the processes of the customer. So that's something that took place, that started a few years ago, and that's really in a very, very good implementation process to completely integrate indoor location as part of usual operations in all the 4 verticals I have mentioned, in order to have really optimized operations. And at the end, so either earn more when we are speaking about malls, or have well-optimized operations when we're speaking about smart office, smart industry, and healthcare.
And so that's an evolution. So if you look into the future, what do you think is coming? How are things going to change in the future?
What we've been trying to evangelize for years is the concept of location-ready building. And so we have tried to convince big telecom manufacturers or players of the smart building industry to integrate Bluetooth as part of their systems. From their point of view, integrating Bluetooth has low marginal cost, but at the end, we would just need to plug our system on those systems to be able to enable location on a wide range of buildings. So I think that's really where the market is aiming at. So we see lot players having released typically a Wi-Fi access point with built-in Bluetooth. So that's now everybody's doing that. And on the smart office side, we now see main players integrating Bluetooth. So that will unlock a very big range of opportunities because the infrastructure will be there. So activating an indoor location service would just be the matter of paying annual license.
And so what about lighting systems? Do you think that will be part of this buildings with the location infrastructure built in?
So lighting systems, sure, there are some of the players integrated Bluetooth as well. So now, if the question is, will light play a role in indoor location? Light has the capability of providing very accurate location because the beam is really local. Now there are issues if you are doing that with a smartphone. You need to have the phone out of the pocket.
Yes.
You need to turn the camera on, and that's quite sensitive from a privacy perspective.
I agree. I think maybe there's a few use cases where you're trying to identify very precisely what's on the shelf, but I think that's probably the exception rather than the rule. What about Bluetooth mesh, though? Do you see the Bluetooth radios that are starting to appear in LED fixtures? Are you seeing demand for that, or are you mainly gravitating to the Wi-Fi infrastructure?
So
with
Bluetooth mesh, so for the asset tracking, clearly the goal is to reduce the cost of infrastructure. So we are trying several paths in order to be sure that at least one will succeed. So the first one is that partnership with big players, with big telecom manufacturers and big players of the smart office. Integrating Bluetooth with both beaconing and reading capability inside the lights, inside the presence detector. So that's the mainstream, the first stream that we are following. Now the second stream is in our own solution. So today we just have a first level of Bluetooth listeners, Bluetooth gateways, listening to the signals. And the idea is to try to reduce the cost of infrastructure by adding a second layer that could be potentially based on some level of mesh. Now, I cannot promise that this is something that will deliver because our identity is to deliver very accurate location, being able to perform smart geofencing. Typically, this needs a quite high density of measurements. And the high density of measurements means power consumption. So that's an option that we will be definitely investigating, but we'll see whether it becomes a reality.
All right. Well, JB, thanks for introducing us to Polestar, and I think you guys are doing some amazing work. You've got a spectacular list of customers, and it's great to see some success in this market over there in France, and I think you're going further afield as well.
Excellent. So thanks a lot for your invitation. And if I can say a few words about the NEAD initiative that you support,
yes.
That's really something we also dreamt on for years. We are really careful about the fact that our technology be also useful. And we don't want to spy people. We want to deliver services that optimize and help them in their life. And life safety is very important for that. And I'm dreaming on having exit lighting with built-in Bluetooth. Unfortunately, this did not happen for economic reasons so far, but we are trying to evangelize every day our partners implementing Bluetooth in the smart office typically, or telecom manufacturers that have introduced Bluetooth in desk phones to propose that capability of proposing emergency services based on their infrastructure. And so definitely NEAD initiative is very key on that, and we'll try to get their buy-in to share their databases of beacons in order to help in that initiative.
Yeah, fantastic. I think NEAD has such great potential to save lives, but also to be good for business, and having public safety built into this infrastructure so that it's just another feature and another benefit of systems like yours would be amazing. So thank you for your support for NEAD.
Thanks, Steve. Thanks for your time.
Cheers, JB. All the best.
Bye.
So I sprung this question on you about what 3 songs you would take to Mars at the last minute, which is very unfair. But do you like music?
Yes, I really love music. I really love any kind of music. I love pop music, rock, English rock. I must admit that my real passion is for what is called classical music. There is a pop is and rock is for me like a Tagada Raspberry, whereas classical music is a Raspberry. So that's the same kind of difference. But I really love Franz Ferdinand. So Take Me Out, or the very slow version of Words or Leisure. Then I would the second song, a universal song, that's Dock on the Bay, because we are on the bay, and Dock on the Bay from Otis Redding.
Otis Redding, yeah, fantastic.
That's quite old, but that's extreme classic. But that's music that will live for years, for centuries. And I would say, as I love classical music, I would speak about the Guru leader from Schoenberg.
Oh.
That's not very well known, but that's extraordinary.
All right.
It deserves to be discovered.
And do you play music?
Yes, a little bit. I love playing the piano.
All right.
But I'm an awful player. But for me, that's like walking in a garden. You know.
Yeah.
I love discovering the composer by trying to play it.
I agree. I'm an appalling guitar player, but every time I try and play Smoke on the Water, it makes me like really appreciate the real thing, you know?
Yeah.
Very good.
Great.
Well, thanks for that.